I met him at a bookstore. He was charming, calm, and deeply attentive. The kind of man who doesn't look away when you speak. Who listens with his eyes, not just his ears. He didn't ask for my number. He wrote his on a page of a novel and said, "If you ever want to feel safe again, call me." I laughed at first, but later that night, I found myself holding that page like it meant something. And maybe it did. Our first date felt like a movie. He cooked dinner, played jazz records on vinyl, lit candles. He never tried to impress. He simply made space for me, like he'd been waiting. And honestly, I was tired of fighting for love. So when it came softly, I surrendered. 2 weeks later, I moved in. His house was beautiful, minimal, quiet, almost like a museum. Everything had its place. No clutter, no chaos, no past. I asked once if he'd lived with someone before. He smiled, paused, and said, "Not really." I didn't press. I didn't want to ruin the calm. But the first night I slept there, I had the strangest dream. I was standing in the hallway in the dark, and I heard someone whisper, "Don't forget who you are." When I woke up, there was a red hair on my pillow, and I'm a brunette. The red hair was gone by morning. I told myself it was nothing, a trick of the light, a thread from a blanket. Anything but what it looked like. He brought me breakfast in bed. Fresh coffee, sliced fruit, toast with honey. His smile was soft, familiar. Like he'd done this before. Like he knew what I liked, before I ever told him. At first, it felt sweet, thoughtful, loving. But then, things started to repeat. One night, he handed me a glass of wine and said, "Your favorite Pinot Noir." I had never told him I liked red wine. I had never drank it. I asked, "How did you know?" He said, "You told me last week." But I hadn't. I was sure of it. That same night, I opened a drawer looking for scissors and found a pearl earring. Not mine. When I showed it to him, he paused, then smiled. "That must be yours. You probably dropped it last week." I don't wear pearls, but I nodded and put it back in the drawer. Later that night, I heard a sound. Soft, metallic, like someone dragging something across the floor upstairs. But we don't have an upstairs. There's no second floor. At least, that's what he told me. The next morning, I searched the house, every corner, every closet. There was no staircase, no attic, just clean walls and silence. When I asked him, "Are you sure there's no second floor?" he smiled like I'd asked something silly. "This house has always been one level." Then he kissed my forehead and changed the subject. But that night, I heard it again. The dragging sound, this time followed by a thud. It felt like it was right above the bedroom. But there was no ceiling hatch, no vent, nothing. I lay awake for hours, heart pounding, listening. At 3 a.m., the lights flickered. Just once. Then a whisper, right by my ear. "You're number 8. I sat up, frozen. The room was empty. I ran to the hallway mirror. My face looked pale, almost unfamiliar. Behind me, nothing. But for a moment, I could have sworn there was a shadow, not mine. I started keeping notes. Every day. Little things that fell off. Conversations we didn't have. Memories I didn't own. He would say things like, "You wore that dress last month." But I'd only just bought it yesterday. He'd hum songs I'd never played. Call me by nicknames I'd never heard. And every night, the sounds above continued. dragging, thudding, sometimes laughter, soft, breathless, female. I asked him again, "Has anyone ever lived here before me?" He looked at me too long, then answered, "No one that mattered." That night, I found the journal, tucked behind the washing machine. Its pages torn, water damaged, but legible. The handwriting wasn't mine, but the name on the first page was, "For Emily, in case you forget again." I'm not Emily, am I? I stayed up reading the journal, page after page of confusion, panic, and warnings. She wrote about forgetting things, about hearing voices, about being told she was someone else. She wrote about the mirror, how it would change her reflection at night, how one night it smiled back when she didn't, and how the man she lived with knew every fear before she spoke it. The last page just said, "If you're reading this, run." The handwriting was shaking, like she had written it in a hurry. That night, I pretended to be asleep and heard him open the closet. He stayed there for a long time, breathing. When I opened my eyes, he was gone, but the closet door was still wide open. Inside, I found something new, a box full of hairbrushes, lipstick, and phones. None of it was mine, and none of it belonged to just one woman. I counted them. 7 phones, 7 hairbrushes, 7 tubes of lipstick, 7 women. And that's when I remembered the whisper. "You're number 8. I locked the closet and hid the key. The next morning, he acted like nothing was wrong, made me pancakes, kissed my hand, said, "You've been so calm lately. It makes me happy." My voice barely worked when I asked, "Do you remember Emily?" He looked at me and smiled. "Of course, you are Emily." I didn't argue. I didn't breathe. That night, I hid a kitchen knife under the pillow, and at 2:12 a.m., I heard a soft creak outside the door, then a whisper, right behind the wall. You can still make it out. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't move. I kept my hand on the knife, and my eyes on the door. By morning, he was gone. No note, no text, nothing. I grabbed the box of phones, the journal, and I left. I ran until my legs gave out. When I reached a gas station, I called the police. I told them everything. They didn't believe me, but they agreed to check. They called me back that night. Said no one by that name lived there. Said the house was empty, abandoned. Said there was no sign of me, no sign of anyone. I showed them the box. They said I must have brought it myself. But one officer, a woman, pulled me aside and whispered, "You're not the first girl who came from that house, but you're the first one who made it out." I don't live in fear now, but I never feel completely alone. Sometimes, I wake up at 2:12 a.m., and I hear footsteps in a hallway that isn't there. Sometimes, I look in the mirror, and I swear, someone else is blinking.